Today we're making kimchi. If you're like me and you've tried making kimchi using online recipes, you'll find that a lot of them don't quite tell you how to get the taste right. You just kind of have to know. You know the whole 엄마 손맛 thing? Is it some heavily guarded secret, or is it just that no one took the time to quantify the recipe? Well, today I'm gonna do exactly that. So stick around for how to make perfect kimchi. By the way, this is my first video in Singapore and I'm so excited to get back on YouTube. If you didn't know, I'm now living in Singapore, moved here about 7 months ago. Came here from Korea, where I was living for the last 7 years. And the irony is that I've never made kimchi in Korea. But then again, I guess it makes sense, because when you're living in the land of kimchi, you don't really ever need to learn how to make it. Case in point, the only other time I ever attempted making kimchi was when I was staying in Europe. Kimchi is pretty available here in Singapore, but it's a bit pricey as it is in most places outside of Korea, especially when you consider how cheap the ingredients are. So I'm gonna exploit that knowledge and save a few bucks. Meanwhile, making kimchi that's probably better than what you can buy anyway. So let's talk ingredients. You'll need 1 head of cabbage. This one weighs 1,795 grams. 12 grams of rice flour, 90 grams of red pepper flakes or gochugaru, 285 grams of radish. I'm using daikon radish here, but if you can get your hands on some Korean ones, great. 36 grams of salt. Just make sure you don't use iodized salt. 45 grams of anchovy broth or 멸치액젓. For the record, I don't use it. I think it's pretty standard for most kimchi recipes, but this is just how we do in my family. So, you know, paying homage to my mom. 54 grams of salted shrimp, 71 grams of garlic, 27 grams of sugar, 4 grams of ginger, and 31 grams of green onions. You'll notice that these are super specific gram measurements. The reason for that is that I'm using baker's percentage. If you know what I mean, great. If you don't, keep watching because I'll explain it later in the video. In addition, here are some tools that might help make the kimchi making process a little bit more smooth. Of course, you'll need a cutting board and knife. Use a mandolin if you can for the radish. Big bowls or a large Ziploc bag. Some people even use clean garbage bags. And of course, you'll need a place to ferment your kimchi and store it. I like using swing top jars. This one's from IKEA. Good old corkin. These are nice as they keep a good seal and keeps your fridge from smelling too funky. And some rubber gloves if you need them. I don't use them because this is a pretty small batch, but if you're doing kimjang or your hands are sensitive or if you have a cut, you might need them. There are 3 main steps in making kimchi: brining, making the sauce, and fermenting. Now I'm gonna break each of these steps down for you so you can easily make it at home. Now take your cabbage and cut the bit of stem off, and you can just toss that. Cut the cabbage in half, but only halfway through. Rip the rest of it. I honestly never understood why that's necessary, but every recipe I've come across says to do this. Why not just cut through the entire thing for a cleaner cut? Maybe it tears the leafy parts in a more natural way? I don't know. We'll just do that since everyone seems to do it. It makes for cool footage anyway. Ooh, look at that. Now quarter it, and you're good to go. So first, we brine the cabbage. But before we do that, we need to park here for a second, because brining is really important, and it's the key to making good kimchi. You need to have the right salinity. And it's a shame that most recipes and tutorials just kind of gloss over this part. So I use the baker's percentage. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a way to quantify your ingredients so that you can scale your recipe up or down. In this case, it's simply the percentage of salt in comparison with our main ingredient, which is cabbage. I'm gonna demystify kimchi making for you right now. You ready for this? It's a number, 2%. So for example, if you happen to have 1,000 grams of cabbage or a kilogram, you're gonna use 20 grams of salt. That's it. So why do most Korean recipes call for so much salt? I mean, if you see some of these videos, they just pile it on, cups at a time, arbitrarily. It's not only unnecessary and wasteful, you're gonna get overly salted kimchi. And as impressive as it is that you made kimchi at all, it just won't taste very good. The reason for this? My suspicion is that it's that Korean 8282 빨리 culture. Using more salt will cut down the time of the brining process. but that'll require you to know the exact rate of salt absorption by the cabbage as well as the timing. And to me, that's like shooting a moving target while blindfolded. Why leave your kimchi making up to chance? For you visual people out there, there's a sweet spot of salinity that we aim for, roughly 2% based on our baker's percentage. You can get that by simply taking the mass of cabbage and multiplying that by 0.02 or 2%. That'll give you the exact amount of salt. That way you never go over that number no matter how long you brine for. But if you use more than that, as the salinity of your cabbage approaches whatever mass of salt you used, it'll eventually get there, and if you use more than 2%, well, it'll get there. So using more than the required amount of salt will require you to know when the cabbage reaches 2% saltiness. My method ensures that you never go beyond that 2% mark, no matter how long you wait. So don't leave your brine to chance. And you'll have to waste more time soaking the cabbage in water if you happen to oversalt it, which is very likely to happen if you follow most other recipes. You're only adding salt just to remove it. So if you've never made kimchi before, I would go with the safer, longer, more sensible method, which I'm about to show you. Or even if you're a seasoned kimjang master and you want to take your kimchi making to the next level, do what I'm about to show you. So just rub that salt into your kimchi as evenly and thoroughly as possible. Use any kosher salt, sea salt, pickling salt, or any salt that you can buy at the Korean market. It just can't have iodine in it, so don't be using that Morton's stuff with the umbrella. Otherwise, it should be all good. Now you're going to let it sit for a number of hours. Somewhere between 3 and 6 hours, possibly more, depending on how coarse your salt is and how well the cabbage is exposed to it. Remember to give the cabbage a few turns throughout the process. Massage the salt into the cabbage to help it along. And here you can see that there's already water releasing from the cabbage. While you're brining, you'll prep your other ingredients. Cut your radish, chop your green onions, mince your ginger and garlic, and you're good to go. When it gets to this point, you know you're ready. It should almost feel like a soaked rag, and you should almost be able to wring it out too. Not that you should necessarily. The next step is to make the sauce. And to do that, you first need to make the paste. So you're going to heat water in a pot or saucepan. Add the rice flour and mix as it heats up until it thickens into a gloppy texture. Then take it off the heat and immediately add the pepper flakes. Mix it in and set it aside. Make sure to let it cool to room temp. Start brining the radish mixture while the pepper paste cools. At this point, I've got my brining cabbage, I've got my radish also brining with the other fixins. Red pepper paste, still a little bit warm, so we're gonna wait for that to cool down. We're also gonna wait for the cabbage to finish brining. So if you really wanted to, not that you need to, but if you really wanted to test it, what you could do is take a little straggling piece of cabbage and then just give it a taste. So you should definitely taste some salt, obviously, but it shouldn't be overbearing. You should be able to eat it and think, oh, I could eat more of this. Now, if you're wincing from the saltiness, then there's a problem. You need to rinse it. But if you followed my directions, you shouldn't need to do that. Then to make the sauce, we simply take the radish mixture and combine it with the pepper paste. Now, take the sauce and cover the brined cabbage with it. Take a little bit into your fingers and paint the cabbage leaf by leaf. Make sure to get a bit of that kondogi in there too. That's it, which brings me to step 3. Now put it into your fermentation container. Leave it at room temp from anywhere to a day to a few days. It's really up to you and how you like your kimchi. You can put it into the fridge right away if you like yours more fresh. You can leave it out for up to 3 days, or some people even up to a week. I like to ferment mine for 3 days at room temp. And once you put it in the fridge, you can keep it there for a long time. It'll just ripen with age. In this video, I showed you how to make kimchi from scratch. I know I used the catchy title, and obviously there's no such thing as perfect kimchi, but you can perfect kimchi to fit your taste. 2% salinity is a great start. If you must have it saltier or less salty, you can adjust it to your taste. And of course, you can use all sorts of vegetables and seafood to elevate your kimchi. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, tell me how you make your kimchi. Don't forget to subscribe, and most importantly, try making kimchi yourself. Now get to it, and I'll see you next time.